Debo Dojo.
Shayan Hamidi, welcome to the dojo. Did I say the first name correct?
Shayan, yeah.
Shayan, but you
Yeah.
always say to go by Shy, right?
Shy,
Yeah.
easier.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming. It's been a long time since we first met at the coffee shop down the
Houndstooth,
street.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Houndstooth. That was when you were just starting, right? So you had, were you already working with any brokerages at that time with Rechat?
When was it? So I moved here 2015.
Okay. So then I would have met
around
you
the same time, but launched 2016 and a half, I would say.
Okay, so you were already up and running. I would have met you in
Yeah.
18.
I think so. So I think at the time we met, we had a few of
Yeah, because you were working with STAP.
Place
brokerage.
that.
Yep. And
Briggs
then
Freeman, Sotheby's International Realty.
Yep. And then we eventually came on board.
Yeah.
But that's when you used to have the old branding too. It was like blue, I think.
More
the old
green
days.
and blue. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Wow. That's the original.
Yeah. And I like the new branding. It's great. I want to talk to you about all the AI stuff that you've got going on, but you were asking me about this before. So
yeah, so you said last name.
Yeah, last name Berndardi.
Okay.
Debo is just easier. It's been my high school nickname, and Dojo rhymes, and it's also
That's how you want.
you know it's a place where you hone your mind and body. It kind of gels.
And you introduce it as Dojo?
Yeah,
Okay.
like a martial arts dojo.
I like that branding though.
Thank
That's
you.
cool too. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Very
So
cool.
for our listeners today, can you tell them what Rechat is, and then we'll get into the weeds of
Sure.
what you're doing.
So as far as Rechat goes, we're an app and focuses residential real estate. So it's an experience management platform. And essentially, we focus on giving one solution, so you can do all your work as an agent out of one tab or out of one app. And this is managing your buyers and seller throughout their entire experience. And that's why it's an experience management platform. What we didn't want to do is to build another CRM, build another email templating tool, and a whole bunch of different products that agents use today, which is available to them.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of products available to them, right? So I think our focus was on that the experience today is fragmented, right? It's broken up into, the most recent study was 18 products that's used by agents on average to get their work done and provided by brokerages, right? So by T360 report came out with that. So anyways, a lot of products, a lot of logins, a lot of the issues that we know, and that's why historically the rate of adoption is super low in the industry, right?
Mm-hmm.
Lower than 20%. Majority of the products are desktop based. So the experience is fragmented. It's fragmented for the agents, it's fragmented for the buyers, for the sellers. Our focus is making that more streamlined, bringing it together, taking out the redundancy. Everything's mobile first, like, iPhone, Android, tablet, which is important. Agents got to be on the go. And so that's kind of the gist of it.
And it's very impressive. And I would say that thanks to you, the industry's getting less fragmented.
Thank you.
Or at least with the services. And
that's nice. Thanks.
You saying it out loud makes me immediately think like, oh, from a strategy perspective, there's various other services that you could probably disrupt soon in the real estate space. I'd love to talk about that with you in a bit. But talk to me about Lucy, because is that integration available yet because I'm a Rechat customer.
Yeah.
And I haven't
we appreciate
delved
that.
in to use it, of course. I typically use desktop for posting on social media for the brokerage and things like that. But Lucy's the AI system that you built, right?
It is. So right now, when you use Rechat, for instance, you use Agent Network, right?
Yeah.
So Agent
Great
Network, love that tool.
So
I have some of my favorites, and that's one of them because it helps you really target, so you're not spamming. It helps you essentially, just for the audience, when you have a listing, as an example, and you want to market the listing. So as an agent, you may have your own sphere, you may have your circle, excuse me, and that you can market to, which is important because a key part of your job is to brand and package up the listing and take it to market as you sell it. But in addition to that, 90% or so of the listings are sold to another buyer agent. So it's essential for you to be able to market that particular listing to the right buyer agents out there that have your seller, right? Historically, I'm not, you know, and anyway, so what this tool does is that it uses AI to figure out real time who's who in the market and be able to target them, and then you can send marketing to them, and it has a very high ROI and it's quite engaging and it's really cool. So we've had products like that and other solutions that used AI historically, but what we've been able to do just in the past year because of generative AI and all the great things you hear out there, it's a lot more advanced, it's a lot more interesting, and Lucy is part of that. So Lucy is an AI assistant essentially that you're going to get. We do have early access, so you should definitely be part of that. And
I love that.
yeah, so essentially what it does is, just to give it to you in a nutshell, if so she does all the good stuff you get out of Chat GPT, right? So she's pretty much a trained model of Chat GPT.
Hey, Lucy, make me a listing description for this.
So she does that, right?
That's pretty
exactly.
cool.
But
man, agents are going to love that.
But she goes 10 steps further.
Okay.
And I can show it to you actually. I have it on my phone. So you can get her to create high quality collaterals for entire marketing. She can create videos for you. She can create your website for your listing. She can create an entire comp presentation, which is breathtaking, real time with real time data, right? So things that saves hours of an agent's time, she can do. And now what's awesome is that she understands, and here's where things get interesting, because she understands who you are, right? She understands Zach is from Standard. And I know you're big on your branding, right? Like you tie that down. So here's what he likes. Here's the colors they use. Here's the sort of things. So she understands all of that. So as she provides the content, brings it back and provide it to you, it respects all of that, compliance, all of that. And then she can help you like share it with a client with 2 clicks or run a campaign. So it's really, really cool. And there's there's a whole bunch of things she helps out with on the transaction side. So there's a lot of the tasks today that are redundant. There's a lot of tasks that just takes a lot of steps that are involved to do. And historically, agents that get very busy actually outsource those to an assistant, a real life assistant that comes in and kind of takes care of those stuff.
And
some
now
folks are really
they're going
good
to
at
have
that.
one in the palm
Every
of their hand.
agent's going to have an assistant with them that not only is available to them 24/7, not only has all sorts of different skills, they're good at social media, and she's also good at running. Like right now, for instance, we just did a partnership with Express Docs. It's a print company. It's a widely used. If you're from the industry, you probably know them. So now she can send print orders. It's just really
I'm
cool.
gonna start
sort
using
of
that.
Things. That
is that
comes
available
into
yet in the software?
Express Docs
Yeah.
integration? Yeah.
Oh, I need to use that.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
nice.
So anyway, so it's pretty. I think we are very excited, and we think it's very timely as some of the changes are happening. Obviously, a lot of the stuff that's happening in the industry right now with the settlement and everything else, and we think that these are material changes coming down, and they're going to change how consumers will be going through the journey and the transaction. And anyways, and we think some of these, and we think it's so timely with AI, because you can actually do a lot of these stuff slowly, and help with those on the software side.
So basically, you're taking a lot of the things that you guys are already doing. Let's say because for instance, in your software, I can type in, a house I've sold, 1836 Euclid Avenue, around the corner, and it will take a lot of my branding that I've pre-templated into your system and all the photos that are in MLS, and it'll kind of pop it into an email, and then I can edit it from there. But you're combining that with the prompt-based AI, and now it can just boom, do it without me having to go into the graphical user interface and all that.
Yeah. So phase one, precisely. So phase one has been we've been training ChatGPT, which is provided by OpenAI through their APIs. And you can purchase tokens, and it actually takes a pretty sophisticated infrastructure, so you can actually start training it with a lot of different data to start doing different things. One of the things you can get it to do is to learn, make tools available to it via APIs, and get it to do things, right? But you got to train them, because you probably heard, I've seen, they can come up with random things. They hallucinate, as they say, and
I mean,
so,
I've been keeping track of all of the political drama too, between Elon's Grok and Google's chatbot and all that stuff.
Yeah, it's funny. But yeah, so like, you don't want it to say, go make me a comp or make me a presentation, and it comes back with a video, right?
Yeah.
Like, so
how do you train it?
Great question. So
it's backed by ChatGPT, right? They give you like a tabula rasa AI system, and then they say, here's how you train it. Or
yeah, so the models, so you get access to the model through the API, right? So you get access to ChatGPT 3.5 or 4, the model that you want to get access to. They have different pricing. 3.5 is a lot more
cheaper,
affordable now.
Yeah.
But 4 is more intuitive. Like, when you go, if you have a paid version, your ChatGPT, when you go in, if you're using the 4 version, it gives you better answers. It understands better. It can communicate better, right? So it just because it's been trained on a lot more parameters, a lot more information, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is just purely, imagine like you have a kid, and you start training a kid, right? So the more they read, the more they watch, the more they experience, the more they learn, right? So these models are like that too. But the models they know everything about everything, and it's so just generic, right? In a sense, and they're predicting the next word, and there's a whole bunch of things of how they do this, right? But essentially, they don't have memory, right? In a sense, like, they don't know specific things. So that's where, when you ask them for things, they can, every time they can do something different, right? If so, the way you train them is that you take something specific that you want them to do. For instance, you want to say, hey, when I ask you for a comp, or I ask you for a website, here's the steps I want you to take. Or when I give you a voice message, and I want you to hypothetically take the voice message. Let's say it's the assistant part of it, right? So I give Lucy a voice message. She'll take my message. She'll convert it into text, and she'll understand, break it into steps. Then go on each step, take an action. Like, if it says, make me a website, then go use this part of our API. And with that, go create a website, then bring it back, use this part of the branding. So all those things that need to happen. And you do that today in the product. We do it through automation. We do it through knowing what's what, and also through you clicking on buttons and doing certain things in the product, right? As we've automated a lot of it, but there's also a lot of stuff that you can go out and you need to do to make that happen. She can make those decisions. She can do that, right? So anyway, so what you do is that you let's say it's like a 5-step process, for instance, of like different things to do.
Lucy, make me a website, right?
Something like that, right? Yeah. So you make the web, like, for instance, go check the website designs, pick my favorites, pick the branding, take the information from the MLS, put that into the website, generate the website, make it go live, all those steps, right? So there's like 10 steps, 15 steps involved to do that. And so now the point is, you want her to go and do that every time, hit the note on the 15 steps, and come back with the website. So how do you get her trained to do that? 1, how do you get her to know what to do? And 2, how do you get her to do that? That's the key question.
I feel like the hardest part is the initial, right? The what to do is the hardest part. No?
Well,
because then tell me if I'm wrong, basically you say do this, and then your team of engineers is checking each step, and then they're like inserting feedback and correcting it, and then just doing it over and over again until it gets it right.
So there's 2 things to it. One is like you're asking her to do a bunch of things, right? Like, go create a website, or go create a comp, or go write an email, or shorten this, or create a video, anything you're asking, right? So in order for her to do that, one is that she needs to have the abilities and access to tools to do that. So that's one, right? So if you go to ChatGPT and you say, create a website, she's not going to make you a website, because she doesn't have any tools to go create the website.
So then you need to connect like an API that allows her to go to a domain host.
So you need to have all sorts of technology, all sorts of different APIs and software built out to give her all those capabilities. That's one part of the conversation. So you can't just get up and get her to build all this stuff, because she doesn't have any of those tools, and you don't have any tools. Like, so that's one part of it, is like providing her with the right set of tools. The second part is like, all right, so let's say I have everything, right? I'm Canva. I have a whole bunch of tools that you can create designs, right? How do I tell ChatGPT to go into Canva to do this and that? Or how do I tell him ChatGPT to do something specific over like a series of steps anyway? So what you do is training, and the way you do training is that you get her to do that over and over with tens of thousands of samples of going over and over, and the result comes back, and the results marked as, is it good or bad? If it's a good, it learns that, okay, this is the right answer. And when you do that way too many times, then it learns that, okay, so when we say this is what we want. We don't want this, right?
So from a feedback perspective, though, you're distilling it down to these steps, and then this step is good, this step is bad, this step is good, this step is bad. You have
I mean, if there's steps
where do you
involved,
have the inputs
exactly.
in the engineering process?
So this is a good question, right? So I think so whether it's steps or one step or 20 steps, I think, obviously it's a lot more sophisticated if it's more complicated and there's more steps involved. But put the steps aside. I think that is a good question. The question is, how do you get it to have thousands of samples of usage, and how do you get to flag that good or bad for it to learn?
Because it's not sustainable for your engineers to
impossible, right? So I mean, you don't have a farm of people doing this manually, right? So part of it, some obviously there's one way is to do that, right? To have the actual human kind of, and you do that by user feedback. Like if you go to ChatGPT, they have thumbs up, thumbs down. That's precisely there to train the model. But you can also have people that actually, and we do have people on our QA team that do that. But the way you do it at scale is via technology.
Crowdsourcing.
No, it's technology. It's technology, and that's the whole thing. So you build this infrastructure that it's a training that trains the model, that feeds it with information. And the model does the thing. It brings the information back. It verifies the information. If the information was good or bad, it ranks it and sets it back. So
the model trains the model.
So you make a factory of it, right?
That's crazy.
Yeah. So and that's where you and that's where it's exactly at, where you have the infrastructure, and when you feed it, and you can do that at scale, and you can rank those feedbacks as they come, and then But to do this at scale, you will end up, still wanting to get user feedback, and you still, with those while they're using the product, or have a team that manually actually, assesses certain things. But you definitely want to have it as a piece of software that's and the model itself. Yeah.
So when is Lucy? What's their launch date for that? I guess for everybody on Rechat.
I think so. Right now, we're rolling it out on private kind of pre-access, and part of that is we're getting feedback. She does. I don't have a good answer, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
I don't know exactly when we're gonna. Yeah, I don't know exactly when we're gonna be comfortable enough, because the thing is that it's not a one shot kind of one feature. She's not just writing listen description, right? That's the tricky part. So she does a whole bunch of different things. And so we're tracking these, and I can show you, it's actually pretty cool. You can see that on certain things, our confidence level is very high, like meaning that like 98% of the time when she's asked to go create a comp, she creates a comp, and it's perfect, right? Like whatever, like it hits the notes, like she goes through the steps.
And
then so
you
we're
got
tracking
a ton of data points
where
it's
this
already
is
there
going.
for that.
Yeah. So it takes time to train some of those stuff, and I think it's a matter of like where we draw the line and say, okay, this is good enough, this is an interesting enough feature set, and I think we're very close to that, quite frankly. So.
Is there something that she's getting, like you said, comps like 98, 99%? Is there something that she's doing 10% that's keeping you up at night right now?
Well, she does
that you can talk about.
No, she can do a lot of things at 10%. So any new,
like I guess a specific challenge.
No, anything you get. So so that's it. So I'll that's a good question, but it's not necessarily doing. So anything new that she is asked to do that's completely new, she starts at 10% because she's never done it before, right?
Yeah.
So it's a matter of training her on that. Anything that's, for instance, one of the things we've got her to do, which she's very good at, is she reads all the forms that you have as part of your transaction.
Oh, like the promulgated forms from the state for the contract.
All of that.
Okay.
So she learns those, and she can help and assist answer questions. And a lot of agents need, especially newer agents have, what does this mean? Or what does this do, or what am I supposed to do, or it answers all those questions. It's something else that's really cool that you may like.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so something else that you may like that I love is that we have, and I don't know if, are you using Pages in Rechat right now?
No, and actually,
Have you heard of Pages?
I haven't. And if I may digress just a little bit before you go into that,
Were we supposed to talk all about Rechat? I
yeah,
can talk about
this is
Rechat
about
forever,
you.
but okay.
Yeah, I want to hear about it
Okay,
too.
well, I'm just saying.
Cool, because I think it's an interesting intersection of what's going on in the world right now with AI,
Sure.
and especially as we tie it back into the NAR proposed settlement.
Mm-hmm.
But something that I've been deliberating over that we haven't done yet, you were talking about fragmentation, is all of our agents still use .loop for transaction software.
Sure.
And my business partner, Logan, who you know, and I have brought it up before, and instant reaction is, no, we love it.
Oh, that interesting. They like it.
They like it.
It's a good product. I mean, .loop is not bad.
So I would love to talk with you later about a way to maybe try it on, see if we can get some agents to, test it out and see if it's something that we can integrate.
Yeah. So I think, I think for something like a transaction management,
Mm-hmm.
right? Now we're like, I think going side off topic here, but it's a good conversation. I mean, for a transaction management, for the most part, the core of the functionality is now what you would think of as a commodity, meaning that companies like .loop, like Rechat, like SkySlope got it tied down for the most part, right? And they're pretty solid experiences,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's not true for every other part of the products and functionalities that you need, right? But and there are many folks that and brokers that I've seen that are not happy necessarily with some of those products, but
I think it's a training thing too. Like agents are like, I don't want to relearn something else.
Yeah, so I think that's true, and I don't want to relearn anything else.
Mm-hmm.
Like people just like that makes sense. You're busy, you don't want to this and that, and when something works, you don't want to break it. So I think all of that makes sense, and I think it's a decent product. I mean, it's got a bunch of good stuff in it, so I think all of that works. I think the reason that your agents would potentially end up using Rechat and potentially come back and say, nice, like, damn, like we should have done this earlier, is not necessarily because Rechat is going to crush .loop on the transaction management side. I don't think it's going to fall behind from .loop. I think it's going to check all those boxes for them. But then it's going to make the experience a lot more special for them because everything else is right there. And when they're doing their deal, their marketing pops up right in the middle of the experience. And right from there, everything else they're doing is connected to their people center. So their people are right there. So when they see that full circle, that's when they're going to be like, that's the value added.
That's why,
which is hard to see, by the way, before you actually use it, right? Yeah. So I do think as a side point, it's good to get a few of them to just try it out and then slowly make it like trend. But I do understand
why.
We
should talk about that later.
Anyways, yeah.
That's why as a broker, though, I want to adopt it. But we've had some kickback and I've been hesitant on pushing for it.
Yeah.
But because it will keep agents in there and they'll see the marketing center and then they're going to use it more.
Yeah.
And then their business is going to
grow.
I
would say it's something, I agree with you, but you definitely don't want to mess with things that are working. So in case like this, if people are hesitant, I think you want to get their buy-in, and the way to get their buy-in is like, hey, I just want you to try it out, see what it looks like. Anyway, so I think that would be a good way to go about it.
So I pulled you off topic. You were talking about promulgated forms and how Lucy's really good at understanding the relevance of, let's say, explaining an option period or something like that.
Yeah. So
and then you were saying there's
Pages. Yeah. So anyways, I was just gonna say, and we don't have to go too deep. I think we talked about it enough, but there's different things that I think there's. And I think what's interesting is not so much what Lucy does. I think it's pretty cool that Lucy does this, obviously. But I think what's more interesting is like, what are the different ways that AI could be applied to in our world, right? And like we're in the world of real estate, right? So one of the things that we've always known is that as a brokerage, there's a lot of information you have that you want to be able to that your agents need, right? Like and you typically put these in a private intranet or a knowledge base, and it's information about the brokerage, about the roster, about different products you guys use, and all sorts of different things that you may have, right? So now you have a way to put all of that into Rechat. It's called Pages. It's super easy, user friendly. You just go and you put videos and type things and put the different offices, Wi-Fi, password, whatever you want to put in there, right?
It's like
And
a cloud drive of sorts.
yeah, it's like a cloud drive that you create your own data, like your own knowledge base on Rechat.
like an inner office
Yeah,
drive. Like we in Texas, we're required to have a policy manual for everyone.
Like you put all of that, your policy manual, perfect, right? Here's our policy manual. Here's our, for onboarding, here's what we do. Here's the 5 things that we want you to do. All this stuff that you want to have, right?
That's
all
nice.
the knowledge that you want to have, right? You put all of that in there, the key dates, this and that. And now what's really cool is that Lucy automatically gets trained on that on real-time basis all the time. So she's essentially acting as your internal concierge for the brokerage, meaning that if agents have questions 24/7 in the middle of the night, on a weekend or something, when they want to ask something and front office is not available, instead of bombarding the front office or you having to they can just ask Lucy, right?
That's good.
That makes sense, right? Yeah. So anyway, so that's something that some of the clients that have started using that, finding that really interesting. So I think there's some interesting use cases on the enterprise side, how she can be a support and an assistant for the brokerage and for the admin, right? And then also how she can do that for the agent and also for the buyer and seller. So anyways.
That's wild.
That's cool.
I mean, that's something that I would, is that Pages available? We need to talk after this, maybe next week. Because
seems like
that's something that is extremely influential for someone like me who's running a small brokerage, less than 100 people. That allows us to afford almost like a secretary of sorts. Is what you're saying.
And it makes you scalable, right? Because as you bring in another 500 people, Lucy is scalable, right? So she can be there answering the question to everyone for whatever it is that you want to have in that sense.
There's I think a dichotomy between, we have to make sure that the answers are relevant, right? Because agents want to talk to the broker, office manager, things like that. But I would love to look into that further.
Yeah, and I don't think the idea should ever be for Lucy or anyone else to replace certain things in that manner, right? But there's times that, I can call a restaurant right now to book a table, and they'll probably take my reservation. I mean, they'll tell me what's available and not this and that. They're not going to reject me, but I just don't do that. I go to open table, right? So there's times for all of that, right? And I think it's extremely important to have the human support and have the experts and I don't think that's going anywhere, right? I mean, and that's something that there's always going to be those edge cases and those sensitive cases and those that you need somebody to be there that just doesn't have the knowledge but the experience and a whole bunch of things around it. So I'm not necessarily saying that, hey, you can park that or you should never have an assistant in the office or a front desk lady or a gentleman or whatever it is. But but it is there to enhance. So I give you an example. I went to the Inman event in New York.
You guys won an award for
a couple of,
you won like the best in show or something?
Right, that was just
you can brag a little bit.
No, that's fine.
What was the award?
But let me tell you, best in innovation show.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but let me tell you about this. Thank you, appreciate it. But so at the Inman event in New York is at the Hilton's, I believe, Midtown, and the hotel is weird because it's like a little bit old school. So you go. The area they have the stuff is pretty nice. The event area, the convention area is pretty cool. The downstairs is fine, but the rooms are so weird. Like my floor was like, you've seen John Malkovich, right? Like the floor is like.
I haven't seen it.
You haven't seen John Malkovich?
No.
Oh, you should check.
I thought you were gonna say John Wick for a second.
Nah,
I guess that dates me.
Have you seen John Malkovich?
Have you seen it, Pepper?
Yeah. Anyways, you should check it out.
Okay, I'll watch it this weekend.
I mean, it's yeah. You should check that out. So anyway, but there's like a half floor in John Malkovich, which is funny. And the floor is like, so anyway, so that my floor or my room, like that, the ceiling was like a little bit tight. Like the doors look big and you open and somehow.
And then it's like.
And it's right there. Like, how you have like your door and you have that. Yeah. Anyways.
Like if you open the door and then it was
But here's like, so now here's what was really cool. This is what I was going to say. They had the coolest experience on the Hilton's app. So they get you to so you get the app. And you can check in via the app and you can check out via the app and you have a wireless key on your phone, on your app. And so I did that on my Uber right from the airport to the hotel. I just checked into my thing with two taps. I walked in, never went to the front desk, never spoke to
That's
this
nice.
single human being, and I loved it. They were there.
Yeah.
It's not like if
you
they
need
weren't there, I
them
would
for
have
a problem,
freaked out
yeah.
if there was nobody at the
Yeah,
concierge.
yeah.
Everybody was there. I took a look. Everyone was there. But that was fine.
And
I
this
don't want to
was-
talk to anybody. I don't want to line up. I don't want to wait for things. Somebody's going to grab your bag. I had like a carry-on. I just walked into the elevator, walked into my room. It was beautiful. So that's kind of what I mean when there's times that you actually want to have a human involved, and there's times that you just want to get your work done and move forward and
Yeah.
have a quick, seamless experience, and you don't want to talk to people. Like, I like the fact that I can click my Uber and select whatever and be done with it, and not necessarily order it over a phone to another human being.
Yeah, like the transactional experience talking to somebody is not necessarily fulfilling. A conversation like this is valuable, but hey, I need to check into my room. Sure,
Yeah, exactly.
is not that great.
Waiting.
Was this
for
Hyatt or Hilton?
This was Hilton, I believe.
Okay.
Is it Hyatt? No, I think it's with Hilton Midtown.
I don't know, different H hotel.
Hilton. Maybe Patrick can check it, but I think it's Hilton.
Because I was at a Hyatt this last weekend, and I did not have that
New York?
experience. Cancun. I went for a wedding,
Oh,
and I got there. I had to wait 30 minutes, check in, and get to my room, and it was.
where is the Hyatt in Cancun? Is it in the middle of
It's at the very
clubbing
end of the
district?
strip.
Is it?
The Hyatt.
So
there's
we
two
go
of them.
to. Did you see SLS? My family
Mm,
goes to SLS, which is a little bit further out now. It's a residential side of it. We like it a lot.
Is it
and then
in
there's-
Isla Mujeres?
No, so there's the Isla Mujeres Island is very close to it. The ferries go right from there, which we love, absolutely love. So when we go down, we spend a day or two there, and then we go spend a day or two on the island. But we come back. We don't stay full day. Like, we don't sleep on the island.
Yeah.
I don't know about the hotels that are on the island. Someone's
Overall, Cancun was okay to me. We went. The wedding was fantastic.
Was this your
um,
first time?
Yeah.
Well, if you went when you were young for spring break, then you would have never said this.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
like
yeah. Well, I went to
jungle fever,
Panama City
crazy
when I was
people
young.
running around, like all sorts of. It's fun though. It's like all sorts of parties, and
I think a young Zach that had the mind of a chimpanzee would have loved that. But now I'm like, it was actually a combo like kids resort,
okay.
which was cool to see the families and stuff. But we were there for an adult thing, and I was like,
Last thing I want. So I have two kids. Love my kids. 4-year-old daughter, 6-year-old son. Raina and Nirvana. Very hands-on dad. I love that part of my life. But if I'm on an adult's trip, the last thing I want is to see kids around.
Yeah.
Period.
yeah, like no thanks.
At
But
all.
we were on the kids side too. Like there was a dolphin.
That's not helpful.
There was a dolphin pool
Was
too.
there? So there was no kids within the group at all.
No. Mm-mm.
So how did you guys land
my
on
kid's
that?
15 months now.
Yeah,
and he was at
congrats,
home.
that's
Thank you.
awesome. Yeah.
But like we were posted up right outside of the dolphin pool, which listen, I'm not like an activist for animal rights, but I was like, damn, this is messed up. They'd never leave. They're just doing
They're
tricks
just there.
all day. Like
Wow.
5 dolphins.
And you had that view for free, like out of your balcony all
Yeah,
day?
I just walk out of my balcony and there's a dolphin.
Yeah, like
looking
the
at me.
show.
I'm like, hey, dude. A little hungover, but
You should have fed the dolphin from up there. It's like you take a bite, you give a bite.
I guess you could. They said not to. But you probably would have liked it.
That's so funny. I didn't know they had dolphins in the hotel there.
Yeah, that's.
Is
I
the
was
hotel
shocked.
huge? Is it like
It was
sounds
pretty
like a
big.
big one, yeah.
It had like a crazy brutalist pyramid architecture. And
So if you
multiple
got
towers.
kids, do you recommend going there? How's the food and all that? It's all inclusive. See, the SLS is not only all inclusive, so it's a little bit different. Was this one all inclusive?
It was all inclusive.
How was the food?
5 out of 10. If I'm being honest.
Yeah.
I mean,
All right, we can move on. So let's just
even
talk
if
about
the
something
bride and
better.
groom listen,
This is
it's
good.
fine. They know.
Yeah.
But no, I don't know. There's probably other ones that'd be better for kids. if I
Kids,
had to
okay,
guess. So,
cool.
when you're talking about Rechat, it's so easy to get so excited about what's coming. What do you think the world is going to look like as AI gets better? Are you familiar with the Turing test?
Yeah.
It's the can AI fool a human? Yes or no? That's coming. I think it would apply into like a physical scenario where you have to look at a creation, a humanoid. But like, we're basically there from a chat perspective. Like there's AI chats that fool people all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. I
Um,
mean, there's
OnlyFans chats,
Deep
bots, like
fake like
whatever.
photos and
Yeah. What do you think the world's going to look like? Because we were talking about that a little bit with, AI plus, like making a better experience. But do you have any thoughts on that
What do you mean? Any thoughts on what?
from a macro perspective? Because the first thing that comes to my mind is, what is it going to do to the economy? And I don't want to have like a doom and gloom thought process, but it's going to disrupt a lot of things. It'll make things more efficient, but it may take like some people who's necessarily their value that they contribute to the world would be more of like a physical value, where they're completing workflows and processes, instead of someone who thrives in a creative environment may not be able to thrive as much as they used to, 20 years ago.
Who can, sorry, thrive as much? You said if
I'm saying
they're in the
like
creative environment.
I think a creative person is going to thrive just as much or more if that's their the way that their brain is, the way that they're trained. But someone who's process oriented, maybe a mailman, right? Will that be disrupted? Things like that.
I mean, listen, I think no doubt there's going to be jobs disrupted. No doubt, right? I mean, in a sense, there's going to be a whole bunch of jobs that are going to be eliminated, that AI is going to take over, that how software took over, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, right? And it doesn't necessarily mean that those folks are never going to have another job, right? So I think it's important. I do think that
it could lead to the creation of new jobs.
Yeah, right? And it will, right? Yeah. So, back if you look back, this has happened many times, right? Before tractors were out there was human beings going around the fields and doing all that work. And at first there was a pushback, but now we do a lot more farming, and people are a lot more empowered. There's a lot more farmers that own lands and do other things. And there's also, so I think there's two ways. So you said macro, I believe it's all net positive, right? With the efficiency and with the opportunities, and I'll speak about it a little bit of what I mean. But if you look at lots and lots of things today, I think in the next 10 years, as an example, we probably find all sorts of cure for all sorts of different cancer. And I think that's a very big deal. And I think in the next 10 years, there's going to be a lot more, there's just going to be a lot more accessibility to a lot of things that we don't have answers for today, or we don't have it at scale for everyone to take advantage of, and this and that. I also think that there's a lot of folks out there that are, for instance, don't have a high IQ, but then they can be augmented with an AI tool that can have a better IQ, so they can have a better life. So I think there's a lot of great things that can come out of it. There's obviously the biggest negative thing is not that you're going to lose your jobs, but I think it's this bigger fear of, is AI eventually, or AGI is it going to take over? Is it going to, and there's ways of, there's some really thought-provoking stuff written about it in terms of how some of these scenarios could play out. And and you never know. I mean, we right before COVID happened, right before the day it happened, if anything that looked like COVID looked like sci-fi. It was classified as sci-fi, right? So until the day it happened, and then it was just so real. So I can't tell you what would or what. I don't think anyone
no one
can.
Yeah.
But I think that's, first of all, I think that's far away. Irrespective of how fast things are moving, I don't think we're going to be there in like 5-10 years. And I tend to not think that's where we're going to end up. I think that so if you put that aside, if you're not scared of that or concerned about that, if your main concern is elimination of jobs and stuff, I think it's absolutely net positive. I think this happens all the time with every technology innovation or any innovation period. But I think as a result of that, there's a transition of jobs and roles and new things to do. And it is possible for some people, they'll find it tough to, it's possible that there's people that have that have invested heavily into specific trades, and those trades are not, you can be a doctor, that you're that particular kind of thing that you specialize on is going to be like taken over with AI. So I can see things like that.
Or
that
maybe
I don't know,
trucking.
but I think generally speaking, it's positive. What?
Or like trucking, I think would be an industry that's coming, but labor unions may have something to do with that. I think that's a good take.
But I think no matter
who,
I think in the long run, it's all going to come, because I think for the most part, we're in a free market, and I think efficiency and profit margins, and I think all of that wins at the end of the day. So no matter what kind of pushback comes and what kind of policies and lobbying and this and that, and they can slow things down, but I think this is just much bigger than that, and it's already too late, right? So I think the storm is coming and it's going to happen, but I do think it's not positive.
Yeah, I think that we're in the freest market to ever exist, but I would still never call it a free market. I don't know if laissez-faire capitalism has ever truly existed. That's something I'd love to see, but you know, there's just a lot of question marks with AI, and it's fun to talk about and figure out what different people think. I like your stance though of net positive. I think that it'll be good. But I mean, this is something that I know that keeps Elon up at night. That's his biggest fear, I think, is what will AI do to us? Are you you mentioned there was a lot of publications when you were talking just a minute ago. What are you reading to stay up on this? Because I imagine you're reading a lot about it because you're building Lucy.
With respect to AI, you mean? Well, I think there's a couple of different sides to it. So I think one side of it is keeping up with what's happening in the world of AI and what's coming out and who's doing what and what's interesting and what kind of innovations. Because, one of the things that's very real is that it's so early. And this is like the internet or the .coms back in like 1998.
And I say the same thing about Bitcoin to people too.
Yeah, of course. I mean, we haven't seen any real kind of, this is glad it's back though, because I had some money on it and it was hurting for a minute, but
it'll keep going.
Yeah. So I agree. I think so I think part of it is like just keeping up with like what's happening out there, and I think that's exciting, and a lot of that is just like for me it's just being active on X or being active on some of the different...
Oh, you're on Twitter or on X?
I'm on X. I'm not on Twitter. No,
sorry,
no, I'm kidding.
Oh,
yeah. So
I'm pretty active on X, so I'll have to follow you.
Okay. Yeah, for sure. I think it's one of the it's one of the better places to consume content. I love the content I take from it. Although somehow P. Diddy's taken over my page right now.
Diddler.
I don't know why.
Have you seen that hashtag trending, the Diddler?
No, I haven't, but he's all over my kind of recommend. I don't know why it's being recommended to me. I'm but it's all over my page and it's not.
Pepper, do you know anything about that? Have you read up on it? To be honest, when I see something like that, I'm like, oh, okay, like great, P. Diddy, whatever.
I just saw he was raided by I think Homeland Security for allegations of child trafficking or something like that.
Oh, okay.
Well, they don't know. That's the thing. So it's not clear what it was for, but it was raided. Yeah, he was raided.
There's
not child human trafficking, but
there's
not that makes it better. But
all the conspiracy theorists are going to say the cabal is real. P. Diddy's at the heart of it. But there's this is kind of crazy. There's a guy that we met through this podcasting studio. Great guy. He's got his own media and his own following. And he went to high school with, I think, P. Diddy's drug dealer. He was posting about it.
What kind of drugs are we talking about?
I don't know the specific drugs, but
you didn't ask that.
Probably a lot of cocaine or something like that.
So this is in Harlem, or I thought P. Diddy was a drug dealer. I
don't know. Was he at some point?
I just assumed.
I think this particular drug dealer was from Boston.
He was talking like a gangster the whole time, huh?
The drug dealer was from Boston.
That's interesting though.
Or that area, Massachusetts.
Well, I mean, he partied a lot. I know. So actually, funny enough, I was reading on BBC yesterday. They had a little profile of him, of how he came about and what he did, and he started at throwing parties at the college and stuff, and he was throwing like really big parties, really good parties and stuff. And there was an accident and some people died and whatnot. But anyway, so maybe through the party scene, he was doing the...
Well, he was a rapper predominantly, right? I mean,
that came later. He became Then I think he helped out with Mary J. Blige and a few other people to get into business and whatnot. And then he signed Biggie Small, and then from there he produced his own music.
I see.
After that, or at least from what I read yesterday.
Yeah, so X is
not a Diddy expert, but this is what I read.
Taken over by the Diddler, and then now we've got the tanker ship going into the Francis Scott Key Bridge. Did you see that?
Yeah. So what's the story with that one? Is that on purpose, or is that guy like...
My knee-jerk reaction,
it really worked hard to go and hit that bridge.
I've seen some like accelerated videos where they like make claims that like, you know, the ship turned really hard to go directly into the piling.
Is that what it is? Was that like a lot slower than that?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I haven't done the research.
Yeah,
but I think that's the great thing about X is like, look, the truth is most people don't know what's going on. Even what you read in the media, they don't know what's going on.
And that's just going to keep getting worse. But you know what was fantastic, fascinating was the mayor at Baltimore. Did you see him?
Mm-mm.
He's so young. So really? Young. I mean, from what I saw, I don't know again if it was fake or not, but he was like super young.
A mayor plant controlled? No, I'm kidding.
You got to check it out.
I'll have to look at that.
Make it pepper, check it out.
But that's the good thing about X, right? Because you can draw your own conclusion. And I think...
Well, how? If you're influenced with the wrong information, how can you draw your own conclusion?
Well, see, I think that's the point. Because you get into a really horrible rabbit hole. That's the guy.
Yeah, how old is he?
He's 39. That's pretty young.
Well,
he looks young.
He didn't look like... Oh, he looked like that guy in the left with the fro when he was talking.
Old photo of him.
This one. No, this wasn't old. He was on Think talking about the bridge.
Okay.
And he was actually wearing casual clothes and he looked super young. But 39 is not bad.
The long hair definitely makes him look younger, for sure.
Yeah. So, anyways, go on. What were you saying? Yeah. So I don't know. So if you're fed the wrong info on the platform, like if you're fed inaccurate information, fake info, and how are you going to parse that through? I don't know. I think it's tough to put that on the audience to be able to. I'm totally fine with me being fed all sorts of content from the right, from left, from all sorts of different people or whatever, and then decide for myself what I want to consume and not. But I don't really want to be in charge of identifying what's real and what's not, because that's
a tough job.
It's expensive. It's impossible, right? So I see this bridge and I see this and I see that and I make a, obviously you're like, oh, this is what happened, like, and you don't know.
Well, I mean, I think, look, there's axioms that we can all live by, like 2 + 2 = 4. And so you start with the building blocks and you just build off on objectivist truths. Like if I were running the fact-checking organizations at a social media company, that's where I would probably draw the line. And like, this is objectively true or it's not. We cannot confirm. And
it shouldn't be like that. Somehow there's got to be the fact check. I mean, I think obviously that the ultimate answer will be some sort of an AI solution. Speaking of AI, right? But how, and
it's really tough too, because like if you have any sort of moderation policy, you could argue that it's a violation of the First Amendment, free speech. So it's hard. It's not a job.
No, well, so I mean, I'm not a lawyer and I'm not very familiar with this, so I don't know. I can't. But my thoughts are that there's a whole bunch of different ways. I think platforms today are flagging and removing and hiding content that are inaccurate. I don't know if that's illegal or that's against anyone, but at a minimum, even if they're not doing that, they can put a label and saying we cannot verify this or this sounds inaccurate or whatever it is. It's just more information to help you decide whether, at least take it with a spoon, with a grain of salt. Like don't take it as a fact.
I think that's a great check. And that's what the community notes feature.
And you can put a filter maybe like, hey, if something is not fully verified, I don't even want to see it in my feed. Right? Like, don't bother me with that. Or if it's not like backed up by more than, or maybe if something that's not, here's my trusted sources, and you have like 100 of them. There's national, maybe it's the mass media, maybe it's this and that, and here's my sources. If any of those have mentioned this as well, then call it verified because I trust them. They do my check. You know what I mean? There's ways to kind of build up that experience ultimately, but I do think it's something that the onus can't be on the consumer. It's impossible for them to verify all this content out there.
It really is.
And it's real-time content coming out, right now. Like look at all this stuff with Kate from a thing. They're like, they couldn't even figure out what's going on with her, what's fake, what's not fake. I mean,
so I think as a podcaster, I probably need to do a better job of diving into trying to confirm what actually happened. But I can't tell you. I've even looked into the smallest iota of what's going on with Kate Middleton. Yeah. Do you know anything about that?
No, I don't know.
I was hoping you'd be able to tell me.
Not at all, no.
There's something
AI
doctor videos.
My information is extremely limited, but from what I know and what I understand, if any of it is accurate, she has cancer.
Hmm.
And I think everything else is irrelevant. So I think everybody should just go with their lives, and if anything, they should pray for her. But I have no idea what's going on beyond that. I don't know what's the role of what.
Who are some people on X that you like to follow?
Ooh, good question.
People in the VC space.
Good question. So
Paul Graham.
Yeah, I absolutely follow him.
Gary Tan.
Love. Yeah, I follow Gary.
The YC guys.
Yeah, so I follow. Yeah, so I follow. The usual kind of YC guys, some of the main investors, and some of the But I have a couple of lists that I've created that are more focused. So I have some like AI lists, and I have so those are more. That's where I get deeper into following more technical people. And you asked earlier, like, where do you consume the content? I was gonna say, like, there's like, anyway. So this is like the question you asked 10 minutes ago. We went deep into it, but when it comes to learning about this stuff, I'm saying, if it's technical, then it's usually there's all these different white papers and writings and posts and blog posts and other things that's out there. If it's non-technical, it's the stuff you track by following the right people in that field.
Yeah.
Right. And these are like, you call them micro influencers, or just folks that are active in the field, right?
They're niche, but they're passionate about that.
Yeah.
Subject.
So that's what I do, and that's where and honestly, I feel like the page that says like recommended to you, the main page, I'm a premium member. What do you call that?
Yeah.
There was a name for it.
Verified.
Yeah.
You got the check mark.
Yeah, check mark. Yeah, but the blue service.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think with that, you get some of the features of like recommendations and stuff. Like they try to make your content more relevant to you. And I like this stuff until P. Diddy came out. Like everything else was fine.
The diddler.
Everything else was fine on my homepage. So I like that too. But anyways, yeah. Well, who do you follow on Twitter that you like a lot?
Man, there's so many people.
Like someone that we don't know. I mean, like Paul Graham and Gary Tan are not like that exciting. Those are like the usual.
There's
suspects.
a guy. He hasn't historically had that many followers. Like, who am I? I got 500 followers, right? But like, he's probably at like the 30,000 mark or something like that. But in the Bitcoin space, and he's a Bitcoin maximalist to the T. But he's humorous. This guy Dick Whitman. I don't know who he really is. He's not doxing himself, but I love following him. I like following Thomas Seeger. He is a deliberate cold therapy expert. He built the Morozco Forge, which is the cold tub that Joe Rogan uses. So he does a lot of discussions about.
Was there a recent story that came out that it's not good for you now?
To everything I know, it's good.
Okay. All right.
I just read his book, so I can
and there's
tell you
all
a lot
sorts
about
of things, but that's interesting.
He's coming here on Friday next week.
Oh, very cool.
From Phoenix.
Very
so
cool.
we're going to talk about that. So I met him through X.
Okay.
So yes, Dr. Simon Godek, he got silenced or flagged for misinformation, which is right. It's a two-way street during COVID. I appreciate a lot of his work. He talks a lot about vitamin D as a good precursor to avoid the COVID infection. So there's a lot of good people out there.
Yeah, so I think there's different types of people to follow on Twitter.
Yeah,
I think there's a type of people that are really good at bringing the news to you, like what's hot and like things that you want to get,
like the Krasensteins.
Yeah, and it could be
whether you agree with them or not.
Yeah, but it can be like, it could be on the technology side, it could be on the politics side, it could be on the entertainment side. So there's a group of people that like focus on like breaking the news type of thing on X, which is pretty cool. And for the most part, what I see on X with respect to breaking news type of thing, or things that come out that are more like news, it's first. I see it on, because I try to consume all the different even mass media stuff, and I see it on like CNN, BBC, Fox,
like days after,
right? And it's when you feel like everybody's talking about it that they're picking it up now, right? So they're like literally, and then they have a tweet or something in it from like 4 days ago that you saw this. So that really helps me to just like, I feel like it's literally like it's people are going to get the news late type of thing, So I like that. And then there are folks, like you said, that specialize in a specific field. and they take, they analyze things a little bit deeper, or they help digest things, and they do a good job breaking concepts down. So I like that a lot too.
Do you so I just read a book by Randall Strauss. It's just like a inside look at Y Combinator back in 2011. It's pretty interesting.
What's it called?
It's like basically it's like YC. It's a long like the essential startup guide. Inside look at Y Combinator, I think is what it's called.
I think is that the one with all the interviews?
Yes.
Yeah, the green.
It bounces around from various different founders. So I actually started a monthly book list on a Patreon. Are you familiar with Patreon?
I don't know what Patreon is now.
It's like a subscriber website, like not OnlyFans, but like people pay for content, like different creators, YouTubers, whatever. Perhaps they have, other videos that they don't post on YouTube, right? And you can pay for that.
So you pay micro, like you pay for the entire subscription, you access all content, or you pay each creator for
they have different tiers, right?
Okay.
So like there's
the content's good.
It's good. I play fantasy football, right, every year with my buddies, and there's a guy that I follow. I don't want to tell his name in case they listen. They're going to have an edge on me.
He breaks it down.
But he has different tiers that you can subscribe to for different amounts per month. That will, like, right before the game, he's going to give you, hey, here's what picks. I think. Here's why. This wide receiver is 6'5", 250 or 220. This cornerback is a rookie. He's 5'9".
That makes sense. I love that.
This guy's reach is this. Here's why you should play this guy. Huh. So Patreon is cool for that. But so I made a monthly book list that you can go free trial. Because once I started doing this, I started reading a shit ton of books.
Okay.
Because I just felt insecure about what I know. Because there's some interesting people like yourself that I have to talk to.
That's pretty cool. That's fine.
But you can go free trial, and I'll send it to you. I put that Randall Strauss book.
So what's the situation here? I don't get it. So what is there? So when you go there, what's there?
When you go to mine?
It's a list of books there?
Yeah, so you go to mine. It says, like, hey, you can, like, for $5 a month, I'm going to send you my book list every month. It's going to be 6 to 10 books that I read. And I review them. I affiliate link them on Amazon. And then I give them a rating.
Oh, that's cool.
And I gave the Strauss book a 5 out of 10. The YC
So
book.
why would I want to go there to get a 5 out of 10 book?
There's a bunch of 10 out of 10 books. You mentioned cancer, and there's some cool books that I've got coming out.
That's good, because I don't want to do any 5 out of 10.
There is a takeaway that I did have from that book. Sorry, my father-in-law told me not to move while I'm talking. He talked about Hacker News.
I love that.
Have you ever heard? You follow Hacker News? So I'm not a computer programmer. That's not where my mind has ever gone, really.
It's not.
Is that a relevant publication?
Yeah, it is. It's not a publication. It's like a forum.
Like a blog site?
It's not that either. It's like a forum. So people can go. People from that community can go. Like from the Hacker News community, they go and they make a post, and essentially, it's like the post is all the more interesting articles they've seen during the day or topics. So it's a vast, the topics they cover is all sorts of different things. The community is geared towards, obviously, it's owned and ran by startups, and it's on the technology side of things. So you will see a series of more technical topics that may come out, or more tech-focused topics that may come out. But generally speaking, it's a great place to just go and see kind of, hey, what's going on today? And I'm sure throughout the week, you'll find a few good articles and interesting stuff to read from there.
I'll have to check it out.
And then people leave comments on there, and they're very thoughtful comments. It's a very strong community.
I know I kind of poo-pooed this book. It wasn't that bad. A 5 out of 10 to me is...
I mean, at the time that it came out, it was pretty interesting, because at the time it came out, like the VC space was very different. The startup states were very different. The advice level was very different. So I think, that you got to put that in context.
Yeah, I read it because I actually had a conversation with Graham on X. He replied to me, and we talked about a couple things. And,
very cool.
I was like, you know what? I need to educate myself about YC. So that's why I read the book. But
well, if you want good content and educate yourself on those topics, you should go read his blog. His essays, he calls them essays. They're unbelievable, and to a large extent, a lot of them are still applicable or relevant. Okay. So I would definitely go study those.
I will. I'll check those out. But on the Hacker News thing, real quick, one thing that I found really astounding, and this, I think, had I known about this 6 or 8 years, it could have changed the entire trajectory of my life. Because you know me, I'm an entrepreneur, right? And I don't have a lot of technical skills. I would not be what you would call a tech founder, right? In a startup. But apparently in Hacker News, there's classifieds for people like myself who are not tech founders, but maybe they have entrepreneurial skills that they want to deploy and be a part of startups that they're like soliciting. Hey guys, like hire me.
Right.
And I never expected that. I thought that was cool.
Well, I mean, startups, depending on what they do, have all sorts of different roles within the company, right? So in my company, we have marketing folks, we have sales folks. There's a whole range of things within the company that may be a good fit for kind of what you're good at and what you'd like to do. So, but yeah, but the thing with Hacker News job postings is that I think it's only from startups that are part of the Y Combinator or alumni, which is a good thing because it's a school for startups. It's the first one that came out. It's called an incubator. And there's many of them that came out now.
TechCrunch,
there's some really good alternatives. TechCrunch, no
TechStars. TechCrunch is the publication.
Yeah. Thank you. So anyways, but it's interesting.
So as a founder, would you call yourself a tech founder?
What do you mean by a tech founder? I mean,
like a tech founder historically is somebody who carries the like engineering or computer engineering skills to do what they say they're going to do from a startup perspective. Like, here's the value I'm going to provide. I'm going to make some software that does X.
Yeah. So I am a tech founder because I studied computer science in school. And the reason I did that, I did computer science, economics, and math. I went to U of T, and I grew up in Toronto.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's where Red Pen
started. Red Pen was, Red Pen was in Canada, yeah. So I studied computer science not because I wanted to become an engineer or developer, because I wanted to build products and get in the business of technology, and I wanted to have a deep understanding of it so I can be hands-on. And because ultimately I think when you're building a product, I think the best products that are built personally, they are built by those founders and leaders that have a deep level of intimacy with the product, with the space, and a deep level of passion, because it takes a lot of dedication, a long period of time and effort and energy and investment and focus to be able to get to a good product. And in order to get to a good product, in order to do that over a lengthy period of time, not to lose faith, not to give up,
it takes time.
It always takes time.
You've been at it almost for 8 years, it seems. With
2015, yeah. So this is but anyway, so in order to do that, so it's never overnight success. I've never seen that personally. It's always, it feels like in all businesses, like there's a lot of companies right now.
You're good.
There's a lot of people right now that I talk to. We're fortunate enough to have a lot of great momentum right now behind the company. There's a lot of great positive vibe coming out. There's a lot of good clients, partnerships, and all of that, which is I feel blessed, and it's quite exciting. And there's a lot of people that I talk to, and they're like, this is fascinating, and like, you guys are growing so fast, and they feel like it happened overnight. Like and I'm like, no, like, we've been at it since 2015, and then over a period of time you start building this up, and the momentum builds itself, type of thing. And that's usually the case with all companies.
It's like you see the news on X 3 days before it comes out on BBC. It's the same thing, right? Like, people who aren't paying attention, they see it and they're like, oh wow, it's here, it's great.
Yeah,
it must have just happened.
Yeah. Exactly.
What made you want to get into computer science?
Yeah, I thought
as a young man.
Yeah, so I thought, so I knew there was a bunch of things I wanted to do. One is I like to create and build things in general, right? I thought the world's going to be heavily impacted by technology. So I went to high school when internet was introduced to the masses. So I remember I had a computer. Well, my dad got me a computer before there was internet. So we had like a floppy disk, and we had all sorts of stuff. And then there was dialers. And I remember I would go to the school to the library. They had like an early, Netscape and Mozilla and all of that. And And then my uncle would take me to the University of Toronto, and I would spend time there. And there was a physics centers and stuff. Anyway, so I got introduced to it.
You had a lot
early.
of exposure as a kid.
Yeah, I had a lot of exposure to it, and to me, it was the future. I mean, to me, it was kind of where I thought everything was going to end up. So I wasn't very clear on what I wanted to do, what specific field I wanted to get into, but I wanted to build a company, build a business, build a product. But I wanted to have something to do with technology. So I'm like, let me go understand it. Let me go learn that, and then I can be a lot more kind of figure it out and be more hands on.
So you started a brokerage in Toronto called the Red Pen.
Yeah,
like Redfin, but with a pen.
Yeah.
Was that right out of school, or were you working on another entrepreneurial pursuit before that?
Yeah, so after school, I mean, before I graduated from school, I started a company called Go Takeout, and that was like DoorDash back in the day, and I did that for about 2 years, and then I was looking at kind of my next thing. It was very early on. iPhone wasn't out. Internet on mobile wasn't out. Mobile computing wasn't out. So
it was what, like 2002?
No, this is like 2006 or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, right before the iPhone came out, I think.
Yeah, right around that time. And it wasn't like, people weren't used to doing things on the go and stuff. So anyway, so the mapping technology wasn't like that. So, well, the mapping technology was actually one of the technologies that was introduced and was being used, which was pretty cool. So we started using that to start showing all the restaurants and all their menus online and all their things, and you could order and all that, which was pretty cool. But I think it was too early for its time. So I was going through, I was trying to figure out what to do next. It's interesting because I was looking at potentially joining Y Combinator. And Paul Graham at the time had this rule, or Y Combinator, and he was running it at the time. It was like their first and second batch. Dropbox, all of them were part of it. He had this hard rule that you cannot apply unless you have more than one founder. So you needed to have 2 or 3 co-founders. And so in order to do that, as I was trying to figure out what I'm going to be doing as my next startup, I looked for co-founders. And anyways, I found 2 people that went to college with me that had gone to IBM, nice guys, smart guys. So I started the company with them, and I'm like, hey, I want to do this real. We looked at a bunch of different things.
This was called, what was it called again?
The Red Pen.
Direct Pen?
Red Pen, like the
pen on the map. Oh, you're talking about the Red Pen. I thought you were still talking about Go Takeout.
No, so I'm saying I came out of that, and I started looking at kind of what I want to do. I had a bad experience in real estate, so I'm like, this is a huge market. So we started studying the market. But it's a really big market. Zillow, Redfin, there was a few things in US that had done what they started doing by showing information on their websites and stuff. So we're like, hey, there's a huge gap in what we have in Canada. You still have to go to agent to go to the MLS. And that was the heart of my problem. I'm like, I really want to solve this. So we started the company. We started and we put the information on, and eventually we got, first we did it for new development, pre-construction. Then we got, MLS on it. And then we opened up a brokerage eventually as part of that. Initially it wasn't. It was just
you were
like
Zillow. Kind of like a Zillow comparative.
It was pure like a Zillow play, right? Like, so they would come, find a listing, search. It was the first product. They could do that. We got a lot of buzz, a lot of traction. But then the leads were just like Zillow leads, tire kickers early, and the agents are still not ready to really just cater to them to that extent, let alone back then. So eventually we are like, hey, this is not a good experience. People are coming, they're getting lost. Like, we need to service them. And that helped me get into the business, get intimate with agents, with clients, with transaction, just understand what it takes to go through that journey.
That's something I've always appreciated about you. Just over the years, you really do have a passion for the value, which I think is what makes you great as a CEO, as a founder. Because a lot of people, I think, get distracted by like, how much money can I make if I do this and I can exit? But you're, like you said, you have to be passionate about that. And I think intrinsically, you really are.
I appreciate it. So I think there's a few things there. So I like a good life. I like expensive things. So I don't want to discount that, right? I totally want to win big, and and there's a lot of stuff that I do and I like to keep doing, and there's a lot more that I like to do. I'm not one of those guys that says like, let's just whatever and put that aside. I think that's a big factor of it, and it is a motivation factor that you want. If you want more in life, then you're going to work harder. Then you're going to push yourself harder. You're going to expect more, and so I think those are healthy and good things. But here's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
So in order to do any of these stuff, I think there's two types of businesses out there. There's like, get in, do something really quick, make a buck, and walk away. Whatever it is, whether you're making a deal or whether you whatever, like you're doing a podcast thing. Let's say this gets, it makes a hit, and then you just sell it to somebody, whatever, right? Or there's ways that you're like, no, I really want to build something here. And if you really want to build something here, then that does require a lengthy amount of time to work on, regardless of what it is, whether you're in the real estate business, the car business, or the podcasting business, whatever you're in, right? So it does require. So now, if you want to be at something for a very long time and go through all the hardship and go through all those things, this and that, I do think it's required for you to be passionate. Otherwise, you're going to give up, and otherwise, you're going to do this and that. But you said something. You're like, hey, but with all that, you didn't get distracted, and you didn't, you're kind of staying focused and continue. I think there's something important there, and this is what I wanted to touch on, right? So I think there's a few things, at least for me. One part of it is the material stuff that you said, the money part and this and that. Being able to win, afford more, have a better life for my family, experience more in life, give more to people. All those are the good things that comes with having more material stuff or money. The other bucket for me that's extremely important on a personal level is that I always want to only be involved with things that I think that once I come out from the other side, I'm going to be a lot more competent, a lot more skilled, and at a much better place with a lot more options. If I have more tools in my toolbox, then I can do more things, right? So I can open more doors, and I can do other things, and I can have other opportunities in the future. So for me, being like, so I don't, the hardship can be more or whatever else. What's really important is that, putting myself in a position that when I come out on the other side, I'm learning and stuff. So I think that's an important part of it, right? And then the third part, and probably is, that is very important, is like, what is the reason you got into it for, right? And this goes back to the passion part, right? So there are many ways to make a lot of money, right? There's all sorts of businesses there.
You could be an OnlyFans, like you can make 1 million OnlyFans AI girls and make a lot of money that way.
Yeah,
if that's what you value. Right?
Yeah, no, I mean, and you can be in any business. You can be in the restaurant business, in the car business. There's all sorts of people out there. I have all sorts of friends that do all sorts of different things and make a lot of money, right? But is that the problem you're solving? Is the main problem you're solving is to make a buck? Or are you solving an interesting problem? Like
that also makes money.
Elon's problems are very interesting, right?
Which is why
he's
so wealthy.
Well,
that's my thesis, right?
So I mean,
the reason.
So yeah, I mean, it's pretty interesting. So he picks up challenges that are not easy to tackle, and it requires the ultimate dedication and fight and resilience and all of that, and he has it, and he is just the perfect mix of all of that. And if you make those happen, then you win really big, right? Obviously, but yeah. Anyway, so I think so for me, how creative you get during the day, how engaged you are, how passionate you get. I think a lot of it goes to the problems you solve. So I didn't like where I was at in my last company. I thought it was a gift that I got a chance to exit my company. And this is a company that I loved for years and years. But then we'd raised a whole bunch of money, and we really wanted to grow the company very fast, and we were doing a good job. We turned it into a growth company. We hired a ton of people very quickly, and we lost a lot of quality, and we had a lot of pain points, and we had a lot of growing pains, and we had a lot of fires to fight all the time. I had to raise more money all the time because we were just burning a lot of money. We had to hire people all the time. So we started being less picky about who we hired, the quality of the people or the cultural fit of the car. So over time that dilutes, like it's kind of like, the color, it loses its color as you start adding more liquid to it, right? So over time, it lost its mojo, it lost its DNA, and it turned into a sales and marketing company that all we did every morning was to wake up, hustle to sell more. And it was just numbers, right? Like it wasn't the experience anymore. So So I took a step back and said, I never want to have myself in a position like that. So what I've been able to do, which I'm so thankful of, is that I have a FOMO and I'm up all the time. I go to bed at 12. I wake up at 5-ish, right? And I'm so happy. I'm going to knock on the wood because I don't want to jinx it. But honestly, like, because I love the people I work with and I love the problems I solve. I know it can get so ugly if I have to wake up in the morning and then, I don't know, Zach is calling you because he no longer wants to be using the service
with
you know what I mean?
like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways.
Well, I think that's good. I think for the struggle for a lot of people is finding what energizes them like that gives them the FOMO. Because I know, like, speaking for myself, I've had periods in my life where I have definitely been like major FOMO. If we use that analogy, like I was going to bed at 2, waking up at 6. Like when I started the brokerage, it took everything I had to just do it, because from a formative perspective, I wasn't ready to do it yet. So it challenged me, I think a lot of people struggle with like that. It's the why, it's what that Simon Sinek book, Start With Why.
Yeah.
I think it's a good way to start, but,
and finding out what you care about, what do you like?
Yeah.
What can you
self-discovery.
What can you spend hours and hours thinking about, or just even reading about, or watching or doing that you don't feel like you're working? You know what I mean? Like, what is that? And for some people, it may be like talking to other people, right? Like, you probably enjoy doing this more than many other things you could do out there,
To
right?
be honest, I did not like it at first.
You didn't? Tell me about it.
I was just scared, nervous.
Okay. How many have you done of these so far?
Well, your episode will be number 12.
Okay.
And actually, we're kind of reaching a little bit of parity. We were like 2 to 4 ahead of the release date, but just it's been slower.
Okay.
Getting people in.
Are you doing like 1 a week or
2, Tuesday and Thursday?
Good for you, man.
Well,
that's a lot of good.
In terms of the release, yeah.
That's if you're so how many are you interviewing 2 a week or not? What's the release?
Like the release dates, we release the podcast on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but some weeks we'll do 4. So
wow.
Next week
that's
we're
intense.
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Okay.
Next week. It's a lot.
That's awesome.
But I'm going to Hawaii for 6 days, so I got to put it in.
That's cool. I've never been to Hawaii, actually.
Same. I'm excited. I'm going to Maui. I'm actually going to make a trip to see the devastation that happened there, because I want to see it for myself.
It's so sad.
It is. But no, I was terrified. I don't know where it came from for me, but I tried to run towards things that make me afraid. Like I went on a camping trip with my dog once out in the middle of Arkansas, Ouachita Mountains by myself. I was fucking terrified. I went to sleep.
You made it back, though.
I purposely did open tent, like open air.
Oh my God, dude.
Cold.
You got issues.
But I failed.
Put yourself through some
I
hard time here.
I went back at midnight. I took my pistol out. Put a lantern on my back. I got a light forward with my dog. I hiked out.
I'm joking. That's great, man. I mean,
but I don't know where that came from. But like,
I think
I've found enjoyment. You're talking about enjoyment. I've found enjoyment in this process, and it's helped me grow a lot as a person. I'm looking forward to continue to do it.
The podcasting.
Yeah. Because I think it helps sharpen me. Like naturally, I don't know if I would. I'm speaking to a lot of interesting people. And every single time, because I'm having the conversation, I'm learning something. Like I'm learning something from you today. And it's gonna make me better for whether this is a chapter in my life that goes for 10 years or 1 or 2. I think it'll make me better for the next chapter. So I'm really grateful that I did it, even though it was kind of expensive to build it.
I mean, you did it right. This looks pretty good. I wasn't expecting this. It's a nice setup.
Thank you.
Very nice setup.
Yeah. So what are before we close, because I think we've been at it for like an hour and a half or so, Pepper? What you mentioned you love the finer sides of life. What are some of your hobbies that you like to get into? Because we've never really hung out on a personal level other than work.
Yeah, we should. So I and we as a family, we love traveling. That's really high up on the list. And so, we try to travel, and when we travel, we love food. So we like to taste good food. And I love wine. I'm a Somm level 1. I don't know if you know this.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I like wine. And then
what's your favorite wine store in Dallas then? Because you got to have a place, or do you get it shipped in?
So no, I go to. So I mean, there's a few on Lemon, but honestly, I've been spending some good time at Jimmy's next door.
Yeah,
they have some really
should have worn my Jimmy's hat.
Really good Italian wine.
Yeah,
and I'm really digging that.
What's your favorite region?
I would check it out. I would really check it out.
Yeah, Montepulciano.
Yeah,
that's my favorite.
I love Montepulciano di Abruzzo.
Yeah, you should check it out. I recommend it. And they actually there's a few folks that work there that are pretty good with their recommendations and stuff. And they change things up, and the price is good too. It's you can kind of share the range you want to buy it, and they make good recommendations. I love reading books as well. I read a lot of books, so if you want to exchange some recommendations, I have a long.
I'll make a code for you, free 99 for you, but I'll send you my book list. And I would love to.
And I'll make some recommendations after you send that. But I read a lot of books. I don't know if I'll see some of your 10s there, but I'll send you some 10 books that you don't have on the list. From my perspective,
that sounds great. I've been. For me, Audible has changed everything with book.
Yeah, I love Audible. I do a lot of Audible,
and I'm accelerating the speed. And as I listen more, I've been able to go up higher.
Yeah, I usually I do anything between 1.5 to 2.
Yeah,
and I love it. It's great, and I can go back and I can listen. And then so the things that are, and I don't do any fiction, but so the things that I want to dig deeper, then I get the actual hard copy, and then I can just highlight it and write another thing too. So it's great.
Do you play any video games? Because I feel like computer science video games are a little corollary.
Games. No, so I'm a bit of an extremist. In a sense that when I do things, I do a lot of it, or I get into it and I don't let go, or I just let go. So I never got into video games, just being extremely worried that if I get into it, I may just go deep. So I never played that much of it growing up. My video games would be Tetris and maybe a little bit of Super Mario.
You're definitely not a gamer. Pepper and I game a little too much.
Do you? Yeah,
it's fun.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. It takes you. I like movies. I like watching movies. I love music.
What's your favorite music?
So
you got some
good music. I'm pretty open-minded too. I listen to all sorts of genres. If you look at my top music by Spotify, like they do the year wrap up, you're gonna get like anywhere from
Drake's from Toronto,
from Drake to Vivaldi to, like, you're gonna get a mix.
Okay,
I'm all over the place.
4 Seasons Vivaldi, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I do a lot of I love a lot of classic rock.
Okay.
Love Pink Floyd, Led Zeppelin, those sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And then, but I also listen to music from around the world. So I have a lot of, French, Spanish, African, all sorts of music.
Man, I've been really, Pepper knows this about me, really into city pop, or J-pop would be a more like colloquial term. It's Japanese pop music, but more specifically from the 80s. So it has like a certain a certain vibe to it. It's like
send me a good one. I'll check it out. I've never heard it.
Stay With Me is the song that you need to listen to. I'll send it to you.
It's in Japanese.
He could put it on the headphones.
Is it English or Japanese?
We can just listen to it in the background while we're talking. It is. Oh, look, you can see my algorithm. It's Japanese. It's like Miki Matsubara. Like
so they sing it in Japanese?
Half of it.
Interesting.
The refrain, right? Like the chorus is in
Let's check it out.
in English. Yeah, the second one. It's it's kind of like a eclectic thing, but it's so good. Once you get into it, I'll have to send you. I want to get like a vinyl with it.
That's so funny. I had no idea this was a thing with the Japanese music.
Oh, it's so good.
I like it. There's a bit of a Diana Ross in it.
Yeah, I think it's heavily inspired right from. It's cool.
Oh wow,
it's really good.
I would have never thought this chick is Japanese.
It's got it's smooth, and it doesn't matter if it's Japanese.
No, I mean, it sounds great.
It sounds good.
I don't have anything against Japanese.
I have this whole like.
It just doesn't sound Japanese. It sounds like Blondie or something.
Yeah.
I'll send you some good music from the 80s if you're in this vibe.
Absolutely.
It's a pretty happy vibe now.
It's about to get to the refrain.
Oh yeah, it's about to drop.
Yeah, here we go. It's so good. I get like emotional when I hear this song. It's one of my favorite songs. So, in closing, I want to tell you a quick story because it seems like you like cars. You have a pretty nice car.
Sure.
Pulling up. It has to do with wine. So Pepper, you want to kind of
what
go
kind of
into
car?
it a little? It was a Panamera Turbo.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, all black. It was nice. But so he's a car photographer. Pepper is.
Okay.
And we went to Bologna.
Yeah, go ahead.
What
So what does that mean? So you specialize in shooting cars.
Show him the photos.
Yeah. Shoot.
And what did you get into that? You love cars?
Got into it about 13 years ago.
No, I'm saying, do you love cars? Like,
I
how
do.
Did you get the car? Okay, so
I do love cars.
That's what we were talking about. Wow, look at these, man.
So you see that orange Lamborghini right there?
Damn, these are nice photos.
Thank you.
I wish somebody took a photo of me like this.
So he actually took that in Moscow.
Dude.
Yeah. I got kicked
This
out by
is
the KGB. This is for Lamborghini, so I shoot for the manufacturers.
Dude,
That's
when you
for
told me you
Lexus.
take pictures of cars, I'm like, what the heck is that? This is so cool.
So that's the new GX. That's the Hennessy Venom 5.
Bro, you're good.
Thank you. Yeah,
He's
this
one
is
of-
for
he's one of
Rolls
the
Royce.
best.
You should. Yeah, I should connect you with my brother-in-law. He lives in Dubai and he has a
Okay.
lot of interesting cars.
I lived there for a couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, like look at these. But those photos are good.
I
Forget about the
appreciate
cars.
that.
The photos
Zach
are
was
so
standing
good.
right by me when I took
So
this.
yeah, this is the car. We went to Bologna. Pepper was like, "Hey, I'm going to go to Italy. I'm going to be there for a rally, and I'm going to swing by the factory and pick up a car." He's like, "Can I come?" I said, "Yeah, sure." So we go together. We swung by the factory in Bologna.
Love
They
this.
literally were like, "Scusi, Pepper," threw him the keys, and we did a tour of Italy, and we took this photo. This is in
we went
Florence.
to Switzerland too.
Yeah.
It's
But
such an interesting modern and then like the
it's a nice contrast.
The contrast is great and I love the
Oh yeah, that's also Bologna.
We
Wow.
went. So that's what I was going to tell you the story. We got the car. We drove around, but we went to
there you go.
the best. Like I think it may have been the best restaurant of my entire life
Where in Italy?
in Bologna.
Oh, Bologna.
Outside of Bologna.
Here's Zach's favorite car.
Oh,
Go
yeah.
back to the plain one. How did you take this? Did you take this
Yeah, I took this.
while falling down the sky?
I go up in another plane and
All right.
I shoot out of the window of another plane.
Oh wow.
But I get with the plane's not actually in the sky. So I get with the pilots and I find out the actual altitude and distance it would be on takeoff, the angle, everything.
Oh, I see. Then you put that
And
on
then
top of that.
we have to kind of dive bomb the end of the airstrip and rotate the wing so I can get a clean shot of the background. And then I tow the private jet to an empty spot on the tarmac and I use a scissor lift to get up high enough
Oh, wow.
to get the angle, and then I can just drop it in. And it's a matter of like matching the lighting and weather conditions.
Dude, you gotta come with us sometime if he ever does a shoot in Dallas. It's amazing to watch him
Yeah.
work. It's like watching
This is
a
great.
maestro.
Yeah, this is awesome, man. Good
This
for
is
you.
a private collection,
Wow.
including the airport and planes.
Where is it?
It is in West Texas.
West Texas. Huh.
Like Lubbock area or something?
No, can't remember the name.
So
of
this
it.
guy, or whoever lives there,
Yeah, it's these two brothers.
imagine having these in West Texas.
They invented
That'd be crazy.
fracking.
Oh, yeah. So they're pretty good.
Oh,
They're
that's
doing
that's a
okay.
cool invention
Yeah.
to have.
Yeah.
Yeah, they deserve a couple of cars for that.
Yeah, so I
Wow.
met Pepper on a camping trip and didn't know it was him the whole time because I love cars and
Yeah,
I've been
this
following
is-
him on Instagram and then I was like, holy shit, I didn't know.
Oh,
that.
is that how you guys met?
Yeah,
Yeah.
On a camping trip or on Instagram?
in Big Bend.
Oh, you did. Okay, and then very
Just
cool.
through a real estate agent that works at Clay's Tap, a buddy of mine, Vinny. So good
Very
times.
cool, man.
Thank you.
Good for
Yeah, so-
you.
But I'll
love
say
it.
close. We took that Lamborghini to this restaurant in out of Bologna and like it was have you ever been to like a Antica Ristorante or Antica Drogeria in Italy? the tiny restaurants that have been there for 100 years. It was one of those. And we had like the best food experience of our lives. It was just amazing.
How did you find it?
It was like right by our hotel near the Lamborghini
I
factory.
just found it.
And it was picturesque. It was just like a movie. And they had a wine cave. The proprietor took us in, and we drank a ton of Montepulciano.
It's
So
when-
you'll have to. I would love to hear
Yeah.
some good wines that you
Yeah,
like from Jimmy's.
would love that. And it's best when you find like real authentic, like hole in the wall kind of place when you're somewhere. I thought I found that when I was in New York. I found this Greek joint. It was pretty cool and felt like very authentic. And I'm like, I found this really cool spot, and then I put it on the map, and there's like 8 other locations. So I'm
it was
like,
like a chain.
I'm like,
What
not-
was
not
something that you went up like recently that was, I guess, authentic like that like took you away?
experience wise?
Mm-hmm.
So we were a month ago or so. We were in Vegas.
Vegas.
For there was an event for the leading RE, and they do this big event once a year. It's, I don't know, are you familiar with leading RE? It's a network of leading independent brokerages worldwide. So they have about 550 brokerages. They do about 350 billion, I think, annually, as something
Wow.
give or take. Yeah. But some really, really good brokerages that I'm sure you know a whole bunch of them are part of that network. Anyway, so they have this annual thing, and then we were there, and we had for one of the nights we had a private dinner for about 17 people, of some current clients and some people that we know and whatnot. And so we did the dinner at this special place, which was so weird. I gotta show you the photos and videos. It was an entire experience because all we do is all
Can you
about-
Google it? Is this something we could Google?
Yeah, it's 20,000 feet under the sea. So the theme, so they have 17 courses of like related to like ocean, and like it's the theme is like you're under submarine. This is it.
Damn.
And then
That looks awesome.
it's really cool, man. I mean, they have these chandeliers, and so you see how they serve you. They have like everyone has their own server that they serve at the same time, and then the chef comes, and every time they want to serve a course, you're in that room. If you're like with you get to get the whole area, which is pretty cool setup. Every time they bring something out, she talks about it, and she puts on a little bit of a show, like it comes from here, it comes from there. I don't know. It's a whole experience. It's pretty cool. The drinks is different and interesting, and it's a pretty cool take on it.
Have you been to Shoyo here in Dallas?
I have not, but I hear really good things about it.
It's really good.
Yeah, it's right next to you, right? Right here.
It's right over here.
Yeah.
I went once, but
He has a new restaurant, a couple of stores down. Have you seen that?
yep, I've been there.
How's that? I was going to get takeout. They're never open. Every time I call them for
I think
takeout.
it starts with a K.
Yeah, and every time I call him to order a takeout, if he listens to your show, he should pick up the phone when people call.
So actually, my good friends and landlords of my real estate office, the Andrews brothers, they own both of the buildings that Jimmy Park, the restaurant.
Here's a restaurant we went to.
Oh, that's it. Yeah. It doesn't look like much, but it is. I promise. He owns.
It looks like the real deal. I mean, it's got all 5
that's it.
stars.
Oh,
It doesn't look like a lot, but it just. I think the thing that was so impactful about that
All right, don't do this.
dinner
I have lunch. This is
is
making me hungry.
is you saw the plates, right? It just looks like a normal bowl of pasta, but there was some generational magic going on
Oh yeah,
in those dishes.
also
Yeah,
food
it
just
was-
tastes better when you travel.
That's true.
and there's so much love they put into it, right?
That and the ingredients,
It's just-
what's it like?
And everything's probably
Heirloom
they made
wheat.
it from the ground up.
Yeah, like the soil is better.
Yeah.
The chickens aren't eating soy.
Yeah,
Just- It's all one thing, but
they're not under stress, hitting each other in the head all day.
yeah.
Did you ever watch that documentary with the chickens in the chicken farms?
Mm-mm. But
Dude, it's the saddest thing ever. I mean,
I'm
like
really
they put like thousands of them in a small area that just keep like hitting each other in the head. Like they go blind, actually, all of them, because they blind each other. It's just so sad.
and that's people need to know that. Like,
Yeah, so
the majority of
watch
the
that
eggs that we're
documentary.
eating come from that, and then it's not good for you
Yeah.
to eat that. But I do pasture raised, soy free
Mm-hmm.
eggs if I can find them.
Yeah.
But anyways, I think we'll drag on forever.
It's a good
I might go eat now.
good conversation. I need to as well.
Yeah,
Good stuff,
So,
guys.
it's good to see you, man.
Yeah, thanks for the invite.
We
Good
will.
setup.
We're gonna have to connect if you have time next week. I'd love to
Yeah.
hear about Pages and Lucy and all that.
Lucy. Let's do it. Thanks for having me.
Cool. Thank you.
All right. Talk to you soon.